Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Om. Salutations to Bhagavan Ramakrishna. Welcome to the fourth class of Unpacking Yoga Teachings and Practices. If you remember the first class, I had started off with a quote from one of the Upanishads. We kind of recap it because that will be the basis of some of the present and also the future classes. Tam yogam iti manyate sthiram indriya dharana. That is yoga, where the senses are fully restrained. And one has to be vigilant at that time. So what's yoga is nothing but a stillness, a complete, you can say, a perfect stillness. And we have been in this couple of classes, I've been emphasizing this stillness. That is yoga, where the senses are. Now, in order to still the senses, we have started off with stilling the posture, stilling the gaze, and you can say these two we have emphasized. We need to also still the tongue. Oh yeah. And the breath. The breath will become automatically still. So these three are intimately connected with. There's a question that came in. Why do we need to close our eyes or keep it open? The idea is that there are thousands of thoughts milling about in the mind. It's chaotic there. Now, when you keep your eyes half closed, what happens is you are less aware of those thousands of thoughts. Reminds me of an iceberg. You see the tip of an iceberg, but the body of the iceberg is beneath your vision. So thoughts which come up on your surface have their links down in the subconsciousness. And every thought is connected with every other thought. There's a vast network of thoughts out there. And people see just the surface of those thoughts, and yet there are thousands of them. The default mode of the mind is to think constantly. Okay. That being said, so half open eyes enable one to reduce the distractions of those subconscious thoughts. And at the same time, we must be able to focus our attention on a particular object, and that will further reduce everything. There are many people now who would like to half open the eyes and sit down, but they are distracted with things around them, in front of them. Clear that space. That's better. And Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of a hen sitting on her eggs to hatch the eggs. Its look is directed inside to the eggs. It has a kind of a half-closed, blank look. It's only in the mature states of meditation where you can close your eyes and not be troubled by that default mode of the mind which is with its thousands and thousands of thoughts. Some time back, I had given a talk on thousands of thoughts. Well, there are thousands of thoughts, and meditation is reducing those thousands to just one. It's a big task, and for this, as I mentioned, we need to keep our gaze fixed. The optic nerves, as I said, are intimately connected with the brain. In fact, most of the brain is given to vision, the perception. If you notice, the moment a thought runs through the mind, your eyes will flicker. Yeah, you try it out, it's there. It's a universal experience. There's another aspect to this stillness is the tongue. The mind works on name and form, nama and rupa. So though we don't articulate a particular thought, thoughts are always associated with word, name, the content and its description. So your tongue slightly moves. Yes, and if you have been initiated, you have been told, you repeat the mantra without the tongue quivering. It becomes mental repetition. We will come to this mental repetition much later in the series, but two things are indicative of restlessness of the mind. The eyes, the movement, so they have to be still, the tongue, and that has to be still. There are many people who like to kind of cleave the tongue to the palate. Well, you can do it, but then there's always a movement. The best thing is to keep it relaxed. And if I tell you, see that the tongue doesn't move, your mind, your attention will go there. It becomes natural after a while. But right now we will practice it, but for just to use your willpower in order to still everything. So these two taken care of. Apart from the taste, the sense of taste. Swami Turiyananda, Hari Maharaj will say, if you conquer the tongue, you've conquered all the sense organs. Yeah. However, we will go down to a little practice, if it's all okay with you. And like I said, this is going to be a practical class where you are now going to sit down still, straight, still. And I keep on mentioning, posture also indicates temperament. You cannot think of higher thoughts with your chest caved in. Try it out. And when you're attentive, you straighten up. This indicates attention, this indicates kind of alertness. So the yogis say, you sit down still and straight with the three parts, the body, the neck and the head in a straight line. That being done, half close your eyes, please. We are going to do it for a couple of minutes. At the same time, I want you to be aware of any movement of the eyeballs and the tongue. If there is, you are going to still it. That's all. You're going to use willpower. Okay. We'll have a second session later on. You got the idea that a slight movement also in the mind will bring us into this kind of movement of the eyes as well as the tongue. Another thing that is important is the breath. If you notice, when the mind is extremely restless, your breath comes like a kind of sometimes like an engine. It's puffing and puffing. The other thing is, when you sit down straight, you can breathe in much deeply and in a better way. Otherwise, most of our breathing is kind of shallow. We only just half fill our lungs. The breathing of yogis is deep, it is subtle. And this indicates the mind also. The mind works on that prana. So Swami Vivekananda, in his beautiful explanation, he speaks out, the breath is like the flywheel in a machine. In the old days, we had these huge mechanical structures, and there was the flywheel, that kind of. And that flywheel, the momentum of the flywheel is transmitted to smaller and smaller and smaller parts via the gears, etc., shafts. So breath is a flywheel. The breath works on the heart. That is, the breathing works on the circulation. The circulation works on the brain. And the brain works on the mind. I think we get this. So if you can control your breathing, you can control every other rhythm in your body. So this is the best way to kind of enter into, keep perfectly still. This perfect stillness is extremely important. I've been trying to emphasize this over and over and over again. People are so impelled by their own subconscious thoughts and acts. You probably seen people talking loudly. Even we have that constant monologue sometimes going on, but we can kind of stop it. But there are some people who are oblivious and they keep on talking to themselves. So if we get these three things right, the eye has been still with a fixed gaze, the tongue is relaxed and easy and it's not moving, and the breath. Right now we won't go into the, but another explanation Swami Vivekananda gives, that our body is a battery. Yes, every cell is an electrical battery, a chemical electrical battery. Okay, when your breath is harmonious, there comes a kind of harmony within the system itself. That is also important, and the whole thing is to get your body into a state where your consciousness can start expanding. And this happens. There are a lot of people who say, these deep meditations, in extremely deep meditation or ultra meditation, the body appears to have like gone into a kind of hibernation, or you have signs of perfect stillness where there's no breath at all, there's no movement at all. The usual, like they say, the signs of death appear. In perfect concentration, the body has to be perfectly still. That has not to interfere with the workings of concentration. And this is what disrupts concentration, obviously. So what we need now is to use these mechanical devices in order to go deeper and deeper. Another question that came up was, what do we do with the hands? Sometimes you say, oh my God, what do I do with my hands? So you wave them about. It's difficult when you're going to sit down to meditate, you wave your hands about. Don't do that. The general idea is cup your right hand in your left. This is the idea. This is the way. Or you can intertwine your fingers. Or you can hold it like this. Keep your hands on your knees. This is the kind of a, it's called a gesture mudra. The idea is, once you have held your seat, you're not going to move at all. Okay. Now let's do this once again. We'll practice this once again. The first, I'll ask you to be still, perfectly still. Direct your gaze at the tip of the nose or the point on your chin or the space outside your chin. Third is, keep the tongue relaxed and still. And then the breath will take care of itself. Okay? Let's go. Be perfectly still and relax all your facial muscles, please. Keep an half smile on your face. Direct your gaze now at the tip of the nose or the point on your chin or the space outside your chin. Keep your tongue relaxed. This is the mechanical part. I would like you to direct your attention to a bright light in the center of your chest. Within, in the center of the chest. Okay. I think there are some, I can see they're getting a hang of it. This is extremely important because now your attention has to be directed inside, so you need an object of meditation. And there are various symbols, there are various deities, there are various images. You can choose any one which you like or which has been given to you. That being said, we have another, you can say, aspect of this breathing. I'll give you this. Like you see the ocean, for us an ocean is an ocean. Yeah. But that's only on the surface. There are huge currents within the ocean, the hot and the cold, huge oceanic currents that flow, that bring nutrients, that distributes heat. If these currents stop, and which are being threatened now by climate change, that's doomsday for you. Doomsday for species and everything. So the cold currents sink and the hot currents move up to the surface. When they come to the equator, that cold current becomes warm, rises, and then it goes to the poles, it sinks. There are huge currents circulating, nutrients, fish, etc., everything around in the oceans. That's why the ocean is alive. It's not something static with just a few waves. There are rivers. There are oceans within the oceans flowing. Similarly, there are these oceans within the body. Now, what are these oceans? There are streams that flow within the body. The two main currents are called the Ida and the Pingala. You can see the sun and the moon, or the left and the right currents. They are these massive currents that flow down from the brain right down to the coccyx. They flow up and down, up and down. They are not two really, they are one. One flows upwards, takes a circuit, and then flows down. It distributes the prana all over the body. So when we are regulating our breath, this is regulating the inner vital force. Yes, I mean, a lot of people, they are just interested in blowing through the nose, breathing. Oh, no. It has a deeper psychic dimension. Breath, Swami Vivekananda says, the prana, the vital force, working the lungs produces breath. Breath doesn't produce the expansion and contraction of the lungs. Every aspect, every force in the body can be reduced to this prana. And this is a tremendously powerful, you can say, factor in your life. You can see, you can make the body like steel by manipulating the prana. Oh yes, you can make the body almost adamantine by manipulating the prana. This is an ancient science which was developed in India. There are various ways, but the easiest way is let it take its natural course by stilling the prana, the breath, and it will circulate on itself. So what we will do is, in the next class, is do some simple breathing exercises for us to get going. Okay? So remember, to recap, fix the gaze. There are many people who have been trying to meditate for years and years, and the problem is they have not taken care of these mechanical, you can say, devices as aids to meditation. And if you can do that, then we will slowly and slowly and slowly enter deeper and deeper and deeper into your own recesses. You will be in touch with deeper layers of the mind and of the vital force, everything. It will be, you will be enlivening things. So if you can do this, if you can practice it, practice what you've been kind of instructed now, and come out next week, it will be perfect. We have kind of laid the groundwork for higher and higher things to come, because I aim to continue these classes for a length of time, to take care of, fine tune everything, and slowly and slowly and slowly get going. And so it will be a new door, a new dimension will be opened up. Not only in your perceptions and everything. Shri Ramakrishna says, how do you know that a person meditates? That person has got his or her eyes steady. That steadiness comes not only from meditation, but also in work and everything. When you focus, you can focus the mind anywhere, in any activity. So instead of dissipating your attention all over the place, you remain focused. And this is what holds. Okay. Om, peace, peace, peace. Now for some questions. Generally,
I have a sense of clusters of related ideas, but not a sense of these clusters necessarily being related to one another. So your comment that there was a single network in which all the ideas were interrelated caught my attention. So could you expand on that a little
yes,
bit?
this is one of the principal, you can say, ideas. Swami Vivekananda explains it. There is something called one wave in the mind gives rise to a series of waves. It is an old doctrine in the Nyaya philosophy, one of the philosophies in India called the Nyaya. It is called by the name Vyapti, that is pervasiveness. No single thought can arise isolated in a vacuum. It is a product of many, many, many small thoughts. Swami Vivekananda also gives another illustration. When you see a huge wave, that wave is made of millions and millions of smaller waves. So, when we see a thought emerging, know it for certain, it is trailing many, many other thoughts. Everything in this world is networked. Your body is networked to life. Thoughts are also networked. So either a network is internal or things come from outside. You try it out and you see one thought will lead to another and another and another and another and so on. And especially you're more aware of these things when you're trying to meditate. You're trying to meditate here and you've gone to Antarctica. And you come back and then something else comes in. So it is a kind of a pervasiveness that happens. So remember the yogic, Swami Vivekananda's explanation, one wave in the mind gives rise to a series of waves. And so what is the method? If you know one link in the chain, if you can control one link in the chain, that chain is repeated ad infinitum. You know the whole chain. If you know one link in the chain, you know all the links in the chain. So you get hold of one thought and then you can quell all other thoughts which are linked to it. Okay?
Is that in Raja Yoga? Is that something he talks about in Raja
Yoga? Yes, Raja Yoga. And this very word, pervasiveness he speaks about in Karma Yoga, Swami Vivekananda said. So he said the laws of causation are only one small aspect of this pervasive law of association. One thing is always associated with another, with another, with another, with another.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah.
A very basic question, mechanical. In terms of your tongue, what do you do about swallowing?
Do it, swallow, don't worry. Later on, that's going to stop. Oh, yeah. Because what happens is as your internal focus grows, the body is a very energy efficient machine also. It will take these resources and put it there where you really need it. So if you want to swallow, please swallow. Yeah, don't choke while meditating, please. So do it very naturally. Okay, thank you.
Swamiji, if I try to focus at the tip of my nose, I get headache instantly. Not even one person would have complained. I try to do, but so will it go away by continuing to do it, or am I doing it wrong?
There is some other problem which you can discuss it with me later on. If you have a problem here, with a headache, take a space or point outside your face. Okay?
Okay, I can try that.
Yeah, try that. Okay. Secondly, see that both your nostrils are kind of clear. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll try it.
Yeah. Sometimes it's your eustachian tubes are kind of blocked, and then there's an underlying headache already, but when you're trying to focus, it becomes kind of prominent. You try to clear these nasal passages, sinuses, and keep a point out here at this angle, say kind of a 45-degree angle like here. Okay.
Okay, I'll try.
Yeah, and it's an imaginary point. Okay, it's not. Oh yeah. Otherwise, the commentators are very clear. They're saying otherwise you're supposed to meditate on the Atman, not on the tip of your nose. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I think I made it finally. Okay. One thing I like to ask is sometimes when meditation seems to be doing well, going on fine, and the mind is pretty quiet, no problem, really. And then suddenly I'll be aware of I'm not breathing. And
Yes.
and after that, it disturbs everything.
No, what you're doing is right in the first place. The second thing you're doing wrong. Don't become aware of whether I'm breathing or no. I've gone through all these things, and many people go through it. Whether I'm breathing or no, you're so focused that you're hardly aware of your breath. Amazingly. But the breath has become very subtle. It has gone deep into it. So the next time it happens, don't bother. You're still alive.
Very good answer. Thank you.
But congratulations. This is important. In fact, this will be a kind of a indication for everybody. So when the body is perfectly still and perfectly concentrated, the breath becomes so shallow, you're not even aware of it. Sometimes you might want to see, like I used to kind of go through it, but then I corrected myself, whether I am still sitting on the floor or I'm floating. Oh yeah. So, and I used to get thrilled. Oh, I'm levitating. But I found, oh no, I'm still on the floor. But
I haven't had that problem.
yeah, you will not feel the bodies, because one of the 5 vital forces called udhana, that kind of gives a buoyancy to the body. And that also is activated in deep meditation. I think last Sunday it was, or some time back. So a body that's kind of living can be easily lifted. I mean, if the person is light. But that same person, when the person's vital forces have departed, appears very heavy. Exactly, you try it out. Very heavy. So it's the same body, it's nothing. But there's that prana, that udana, that gives it a kind of a certain buoyancy to the body. So